I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll show you where, if you've been using Teams, you'll know quite a bit of this. We're talking about Teams and new bits, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to just jump and show the new bits without making sure that I cover off some of the fundamentals. More people joining, that's great. So I'm going to cover a few of the fundamentals of it because we assume that we know stuff about the software. We've been using it for a while, this sort of idea. But the point is, Microsoft are moving this so fast through. And if we, good morning, Simon. If we jumped onto Teams and just started using it because we had to use it, or we got invites to stuff, or it's part of 365 or COVID reasons, it may well be that there's even some standard features that have been around for a while that you may not know about. So yes, we will spend the last 15 minutes talking about both the new bits that are currently in Teams, but also the new bits that are coming very soon in the next month or the next 2 months, because they're developing Teams and a lot of Microsoft 365 at a very, very high speed at the minute. So we'll be coming back to here because this will show us some of the new bits that have come in the last month or so. But let me just jump over to here and let me quickly talk about what Teams is as a platform. Teams is becoming the key central point of everything that Microsoft does. And that's me being completely, they're not saying it that way, but it's their communication platform, it's their collaboration platform. It's an internal messaging system. We've obviously got in COVID, we've moved into Zooming and we've moved into Teams. The two things are apples and pears. They're different things. They're different solutions for similar jobs. Zoom obviously is working on their security at the minute, but Zoom was probably ahead when it came to things like the video platform. However, Microsoft Teams have caught up on most of those things and actually potentially moving in front of Zoom on a lot of those. But people have got used to Zoom. Others have got used to Teams. But Teams is not just for the video platform. The video part of it is highly important these days. But the key part of Teams is it's a communication and collaboration tool, and it's a consistent tool. Whereas with Zoom, usually what happens is you have a call, you share your stuff, you might share your screen, you might record it, you might share data on it, and afterwards, that's over. If you want the data from that, you download it, and then you start emailing people and this sort of idea. With Teams, internally and externally, Teams becomes this communication platform that is consistent, persistent. The video part of it is something that you launch from within Teams, but you're always can be on here to send instant messages, to send chats, and it's to send group messaging. But even more than that, it's now becoming the portal where Microsoft says you can do things to launch your Microsoft Planner, Word, collaborate, use Excel, your SharePoint, everything that you do in your day, a lot of that can exist purely within Teams. So without taking any more time up, and we might talk about security at the end, let's just have a look. Here's the chat. Some of the new things that came along in chat, for example, recently. Well, from the very start, we always had the option to pin and unpin. We also have the option now to pop out chats, and this exists in this and in conversations. And this is really key because before this, if you had a meeting going on or if you had a Teams conversation going on, you couldn't go and pop out the chat. So you ended up having to go back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. And that was a bit of a pain. There's 3 places that you can pop out a chat. You can choose the more options. And anytime you see those 3 little dots together, that means more options. You can pop out the chat from there. You can just pop it out from here, which is even quicker, or you can pop it out from over here. So if I pop out that chat, it opens up in a floating window. This means that I can actually put them across my desktop if I've got multiple desktops, or even just have them as separate windows going on here. And for each of those, I can then do communications here. So I could have 3, 4, 5, 6 chats open. Obviously, my suggestion is you limit the number that you've got open because it's hard. It's like having 16 emails open. You can't keep track of it. You may know from before, you can turn a single conversation into a group conversation by adding people. A nice thing that Microsoft allows you to do is when you add multiple people to it, it gives you the option, do you want to include all the previous chat history, the previous chat history from the last day or 2, or the previous chat history from a certain length of time. Just a few other things around chat. If you share files, you're actually using your OneDrive. One of the new features that's coming in the very near future is the ability that when you do share files, because you're actually not, it says attached on the main screen, but it's actually you're sharing to your OneDrive, you're going to be able to choose whether to share it as a read-only, so no edit available, or send it as it currently is, which is completely able to be edited by the people you send it to. Obviously, if you send a PDF, that's different if you share a PDF. So they are going to give that the same way as if you use OneDrive in the web, or if you use OneDrive in your desktop and you choose to send it and change it from edit to read only, you'll be able to do that from within Teams. So that's some of the key things here. Let's have a quick look at the Teams area. And a few key things about that you might know, you might not know, you haven't used, you might have used. Obviously, when you create a team, you get three options on that. You can join a team, or you can create a team. So if we join a team, create one, we can build one from scratch, we can create from an existing group, or we can have a full-on one that is public and open to the whole organization. That's already been done here. In our organization, if you don't have an organization-wide team, you can do it. And basically that means private, people need permission, public, anyone in your organization can join it. So the public ones are for more things like policies and procedures. Private ones are for team chat and groups. Managing teams and stuff like that always comes in under the three dots. So if you're in charge of a team, you can manage it. You can manage it to add people from here. You can choose whether they're owner or member. You can remove guests. You can add people to it. You can search for guests. You can do the same for channels. Now, when you add a channel, and again, most might know this, but let's quickly talk about it. When you add a new channel, you can choose to have it as a standard channel or a private channel. Standard channels allows everyone in the team to see it. Private channel means a subgroup. So this would be a department, say, team, and in there you want a management channel, and that management channel might only have 2 or 3 people in it. Instead of setting up a new team, you just make a private channel within it, and you can manage all these channels from here, whether they're visible. Visible does not mean, if you make it not visible, it doesn't mean that people can't see it. So for example, I've got some here that are not visible, they're hidden, but I click on that. Visibility is all to do with keeping this tidy. Private channel is how to secure it. Looking at settings, most of these, if you've played around with it, you know this. You can add pictures, you can decide what members can do, what permission levels they've got. You can decide what guests can do. Mentions, team code. Now, mentions is whether team members can mention the whole team. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more in a second. And then you got whether you allow other things and tags. So a couple of things that a lot of people don't realize that you can do with these. If I'm in a channel, and I want to mention a person, you might already know this, but if I want to mention a person, I can do an @ symbol. So I'm going to click reply here, and I'm going to do @. And if I start typing in somebody's name, it allows me to mention that person. However, I can also mention the channel. So I can look for a channel and mention everyone in the channel, or I can mention a team. So it notifies the whole team that we have got that they've got a new item in here, that there's something that they need to read, that there's a meeting coming up. So the @ symbol allows you to mention. And if you're in charge of a team and you're in charge of running it, you can decide whether your members can mention everyone or not. Here you may have seen as well, and you may be used to using this, you've got inline replies. In both cases, chat, you don't have inline replies. It's one message, then a reply, then a reply, then a reply. Here, you actually start your conversation, and then you can do inline replies. So you can have 15, 16, 30, 40, 50 different conversations on here. Microsoft, in the more recent past, has brought the Meet Now button. Now, Meet Now allows you to start a meeting in that team. You don't have to actually send an invite to everybody that's part of that team. If they're part of the team, they are aware that the meeting has started, or you can schedule a meeting within the team channel. And that means everybody gets it in as a provisional invite. So you don't have to go through the procedure of setting up a meeting and inviting every single person with it. So as you can see, you get the option to meet now. So you're chatting back and forward by typing, and suddenly you think to yourself, you know what, this will be better as a quick chat. So you click the Meet Now button and anybody who's part of that channel can jump in and give their feedback to it. We can also schedule a meeting. Over here, we've got information on the channel. So it tells you about it, it tells you who's contributed, who's in it, updates to it. So that's a useful little tool there. And then you can decide. Now, Microsoft got a very, very granular level of giving you notifications. So you can decide on your notifications from the settings, which I'll show you in a minute, but you can also decide to unfollow messages. So if you put something here and there's a big conversation about it, you can actually unfollow that the same way as you would do on Instagram or Facebook. So you can decide channel notifications, bespoke, so you can actually do all of that. So talking about notifications, that is something that they've made easier and they have changed. Where you get your notifications is from your settings. So if you're starting to get inundated with the number of messages that have come through, with the notifications, with the pop-ups, with the activity bar up here, your phone's constantly beeping at you, your computer's constantly telling you stuff and you're sitting going, I really don't care about that, you can change that. Go to your settings by clicking on this. And once you're in settings, we can go down to notifications. With notifications, we now have this, teams and channels. Do you want all activity, only mentions and replies, or custom? Now mine are set to custom, but you can actually very quickly say only mentions and replies. So before they had every single thing was a drop down and an option, they've made it much simpler to say, I just need mentions and replies. I don't need to go more granular than that. Or for example, in my case, because I already had custom settings, they're going to say, there's your custom settings. So I could reset these to default, or I could go back to settings. Down here, I can choose what happens with my chat, what happens with my meetings, what happens with my people. So they've made this a little bit easier to use. If you haven't been aware of this, just to let you know, this has been around for a lot of the time. You can actually set a status message. Your status message is like an out of office, and you can mention someone in it. So I could say, I'm not available today. If you have any urgent questions, please contact, and you put the @ symbol for the person's name. So internally or with guests in your organization, you can do that. When you're working with people, you can invite them into a team. They will see everything that's in there. They can be external people as well. So it's a really good way of collaborating with potential clients or other people or anything you need to do. One of the things, again, that they've added new, and this is, again, I think this is a key thing that they've done. They've added the ability down here that the new conversation is a big blue button. And this is good because quite regularly what was happening before, or what we saw happening, was instead of people using the inline reply and pressing the reply button here, people were constantly starting a new conversation instead of a reply. Now that was because if this was a bottom message, it was quite easy to start a new reply. It was hard to see the distinction between an inline reply and a new conversation. So they made a big new blue button. So if you're starting a new conversation, it says start a new conversation, and then your standard window comes up. You may know this or you may not. When you hit the format button, you can actually do multi-line messages. Whereas before, if you hit enter accidentally, it would send, not on the mobile device, but from here. So, and when you do a new message in a team, you can put in a subject, which gives it a title, but you can also decide to make it into an announcement. An announcement allows you to put a heading, a subheading, context here, and either change a color or put a background image on it. And then you can decide, is it an announcement that anyone can reply, or just me and a certain number of people can reply to? And again, we can post that in multiple channels. You can do everything from adding links and messages, to putting code in messages, to putting a line ruler in it, to doing all of these other things. Put a table in, paragraph in, and obviously we know we can put emojis, GIFs, stickers, and stuff like that in here as well. So it's all rather, it's a good way of communicating. If you don't know this as well, let's just quickly tell you, every single channel has an email address. Now the email address is something like that, 7270cdf4 dot and that. So every single channel will have an email address. That's not necessarily an email address that you would want to give out. However, this is quite useful if you're sending emails out, or you set up rules in your Outlook that when an email comes back from a client to a shared mailbox, it automatically gets delivered into Teams. Use this to forward it to it. So any channel you want, you can put and emails will come straight through. For example, this was a test email, and I can view the original email by clicking on that, and it will bring me to that email. I'm going to cancel that so that we don't have the timeout. One more thing, if you've got larger teams, just to let you know, you can tag people. What I mean by larger teams, if you've got 30, 40 people in a team, you don't necessarily want to mention the whole team. You don't want to mention, go through and mention 7 people individually, at least 7 managers, or 6 people who are in charge of health and safety, or whatever else. You can create tags. So you could create a tag which is called health and safety, for example, or whatever you want to call your tag. And within a larger team, you can add people to this tag. So I'm going to add Andy to it. And then if I want to mention, I'm going to only add 1 person, but I could have 6 people there. If I want to mention those people in a conversation, instead of having to remember who they all are, I can just do this. There we go. And it tags that person. So this is a way of, again, managing your notifications, managing how you communicate, making your life a lot quicker. Quickly through a few things on the calendar and meetings here, what they've done, and I'm going to come back into this because you probably are all sitting in this window, I would hope. This is a new format. You no longer have a floating toolbar here. I find that's useful. We don't want a floating toolbar because it's sat over the top of information and it was really hard to get rid of. The other reason they got rid of the floating toolbar and moved it up to the top is because you can now have a large gallery. Just like Zoom allows you 49, Microsoft Teams now allows you 49. On your mobile phone, it allows you 4x2, and on a tablet, it allows you 3x3. So if you want to change your format of your screen, you go here. Now, we can only use gallery at the minute because we don't have more than 9 people on here. The gallery is default 3x3. Large gallery allows you to have 7x7, which is 49. So you need more than 10 people. You also have a new mode, which is called preview. This, or a together mode. They're actually growing this because at the minute it'll take a few seconds, but it will take a screenshot of each of the people that have got their video on, and it will put us in a lecture theatre if it decides. There we go. Hello, everyone. So therefore, if you've got 30 or 40 people, we all sit in rows. Now, they are improving this all the time. They're making our size of our people better, and they're going to give us things like a boardroom and a coffee shop. And I think this is quite good if you're presenting, because then you're not like everybody's just looking at you as if it's a normal meeting. So that's quite new. It's a different way. Some people like it, some people don't. The same with anything. Microsoft have also, we put these things up here. We've obviously got our people. Now with people, you can see who is in and out of the meeting. That's good. But there's a few extra things that we've added here. They've added under your participants. They've added the ability to don't allow attendees to unmute. So if you've got a large meeting, large event, we don't mind this at all, people coming in and out, but we can actually say don't allow anyone to unmute their video things. So it's a large presentation that you can do. We can mute them all. We can manage permissions. They're actually bringing something very soon where you're going to be able to download an attendee list. That was, it's in the education version of Teams already, and it's coming into our version as well. Conversation hasn't changed much. Raise hand came 2 months ago, where you could raise a hand, and if it's a larger meeting, your hand will go up beside and a little notification will go to the presenter. So all of that is useful. You can turn live captions on, and then the next few weeks, and I know I'm talking a bit different between what we've actually got currently and what's coming. Live captions allows you to see what people are speaking, but also because we're recording, when this comes back, and this is going to come back into the stream environment, and Microsoft Stream will record it and bring it back and post it into the Teams. That's changing soon to allow us all to be able to download that, not just the organization, but people that are external. And again, the manager or the person who ran the meeting can decide whether people can download it or not. But they're also bringing along a transcript. So what they're going to have is when it downloads, you're going to have the video and the transcript from it. Now, the transcript is the same as the live captions. I find with my accent, it's about 93% accurate. is what they say. And that transcript is going to be rather useful for a lot of meetings, especially say whether it's directors meetings or whether it's HR meetings or anything that you need to actually take minutes of. Microsoft Transcript is actually going to make those minutes for you, which is rather useful. I want to keep moving through these things and just let you know. So all that, we got live captions, we got that. So that's the key bits here. One thing about the settings of a meeting, and I haven't got this up on my web page, but I'll see if it runs quickly, is you now have the option. Before this, you had to say when somebody joined the meeting, if somebody was within your organization, no matter what would happen, they could join the meeting before you. So what they've done now is they've given you the option, and again, this came directly from education and has moved over from the education version of Teams to the normal version of Teams, because teachers wanted the option to start the meeting without the children starting the meeting, obviously. So they've put that on in here, and now they're bringing it across to the new version of Teams, and you can actually choose to only myself is the person who can enter the meeting first. So under your meeting options, you can choose only me can enter the meeting first, and then everybody has to wait in the lobby, even people within my organization. They've upped the number of people that can join a meeting. So I think it's now about 500, and their live events have become larger as well. I don't think we've got the option here. It's not running very fast, so I don't want to waste our time. You now also under leave, you have the option to end the meeting, because before this, at the very start of Teams, you had to wait for everybody to leave, or you had to go down everybody individually and click on them and make them leave if they didn't remember to do it. But now if you end meeting, it closes it down for everyone. Whether we're in here and adding files, or whether we're on here and adding files, for the collaboration part of it, and I want to give you these last few bits, I want to show you a little bit about collaboration, and then I want to explain a few extra bits that are coming up. When you come to collaboration and you attach files, it's using your SharePoint feature for that. So you do an attach files here, or you go to files here and you attach, and what that does is it actually has got a SharePoint site behind the scenes, and it shares those files with everyone that is in your team. So this looks like SharePoint if you've got used to using SharePoint at all, and this allows you to pin items on the top. It allows you to edit documents in the move on Teams, collaborate on the move, upload straight to here. You can sync this to your computer from here so that you've actually got these copy of this data from here. So all of that's possible. But you may not know there's a sync button, there's the cloud storage, there's the download, there's this and that and the other. So you can check out from here, you can see version history from here. You may not know that you can add so many other things to this. So I go down here, I'm just going to very quickly show you. Stream, Microsoft Stream is the video platform. So if you've got training videos, if you've got videos that you want to be able to use, you can actually add them to a channel. Individual videos like this one, or a whole channel. So you can set up your channels here, and this is a separate app as well that people can download, and it means that they can watch your training videos or your internal videos. Now, if you want to know more about that, for example, on the Affinity IT YouTube site, we've got a whole session where we did using Microsoft Stream, including adding it into Teams. So you've got that going on. You can put web pages on there. So if I click on this demo, we can see that you can actually link in web pages, which is that web page here, but you can also link into, for example, so that's the Affinity website, and you can actually navigate the website from your Teams environment. But you've also got the option here under more. I've actually linked one of the YouTube videos. So one of the YouTube videos we've done using Microsoft Forms to create internal documentation and external documentation, we recorded that. It's on YouTube, and I've linked it to here. And you do that by pressing the plus button. So you can add a tab of anything Microsoft, but you can also add a tab of so many external apps as well. So whether that's, as you can see, YouTube, or a whole batch of other apps, you can install PDFs, Power BI, the new Microsoft Lists, Flow, Power Apps, etc., and all of these and more. So for example, you can even add Zoom. So you can actually launch your Zoom meetings from within Teams, which is very funny. Planner is a new one. Planner is Microsoft Planner, Kanban Planner type style boards that they have part of your Microsoft 365 subscription. But the Planner app within Teams, that only gives you your tasks from that, but also gives all your tasks from Outlook. So if you flag a thing, flag an email, or put a task into Outlook, it automatically shows up on your to-do list, or if you use To-Do app. So this Planner app, slow because I'm sharing my screen and I'm on video, this actually gives me everything, whether it's Planner, so these are the Planner stuff, or whether it's tasks, and it's all in one place. So I can do that. They've also, so there we go, tasks is up here. So that's flagged tasks. And if I create a new task, it'll actually ask me where I want to put it. So what source? Do I want to put it in my to-do list, or do I want to add it to a planner? So that's all available from within here. I've only got a few minutes left, so let's just explain what else they're doing these days. They've actually added to it Power Apps, and they've added to it Power Virtual Agents. So you can create bots within Teams. So I've recently, for a client, created an IT bot where somebody needs to reset their password or request a new account. They go in, type information, and the computer talks to them and then sends an email through to the IT desk. Power Apps, you can actually set up, for example, walkthrough apps. So if you've got a COVID walkthrough you need to do in work in the morning, you can actually have that in Teams that your team can go through, check boxes and say, go, go, go. So all of this is key parts. And you might have seen in there, Microsoft lists. So if you've used SharePoint lists in the past, a little bit like Excel, but better, a little bit like a database, but not as difficult to use. Microsoft Lists, they brought it out as a separate app. You can create lists within Teams. Those link to a team site that can be shared. You can create templates that they've got on here. Microsoft have provided lots and lots of a few templates, and they're doing more. So let's just show you, for example, this can sit within here, and you could do an issue tracker, employee onboarding, and this actually has conditional formatting and everything with it, and they keep adding extra ones to it, like those are new ones in the last couple of weeks. So they're constantly talking and pushing forward the incorporation of using other parts of the environment, the Microsoft environment and other environments, because they want this to be the portal that you go to do everything. Last couple of things I want to talk to you about. If you want to see what's going on, oh, by the way, here we go. Who can bypass? People in my organization, only me. Who can present? Everyone, people in the organization, specific people, are only me. The only me is new. So that's there. Microsoft have got a blog, tells you all the things coming up in Teams. So it's not just about these little bits of video and calling. It'll be about the collaboration tools, stuff to do with Microsoft phones, Teams phones, which most people don't use that part, but it'll actually show you. So you can actually go and just search Microsoft Teams blog and get a lot of information on it. The other place to go is Microsoft Roadmap. And this is really interesting because this tells you what's coming up in the Microsoft world. So you look for roadmap, you go it, and what you do is you come along here and you choose what product you want to see. So you could actually look at Office 365 or Outlook or Excel, see what's coming up. But I've chosen Teams, and I said, I don't want to see what's been launched. I want to see what's rolling out. I want to see what's in development. So I'll even uncheck what's in development. New file sharing experience. So that's a shareable link. That's changing that. That's what I talked about. On-demand translation, templates and Teams, new templates, language aware proofing. So there's stuff that's going on here that's more technical. But one of the ones that is really useful to talk to you about is breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are coming. And if we look here, oh, it's in development. It says Microsoft virtual breakout rooms. Meeting hosts can breakout rooms can be used to meet participants for smaller room discussion. They can assign participants to a room and call them back to the larger group when the breakout is complete. So that looks as if they're doing it in November. At the minute, that is live in some people's tenancy. They're starting to use it as a test, and it will be rolling out over the next month. That will allow you to set up in a meeting multiple breakout rooms, and they can be allocated automatically. They can be allocated by you allocating people to it. You can set a maximum size, and you can set a time limit when people come back to the main meeting. So that's something that Zoom's got that Microsoft didn't have, but that is coming in the next month. So that roadmap is a really good place, not just to find information about Teams, but to find information about all of the Microsoft products that are coming up. Have we any questions? There's a lot there. Any questions about that or anything else to do with Teams? And I'll see if I can answer them. No. I believe, Elliot, am I right in saying it's this Thursday coming that there's a full free half-day session on more talking about the whole Microsoft 365 apps, desktop apps and environment and how it works together, and that's run by you guys and it's available on the website, is that correct?
Yeah, I'll have to double check the dates, but I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
My
it'll be a
colleague
full
Andy
half-day
is doing
overview.
that one, and that will talk about even all the new features, more likely in things even like Outlook, Word, Excel, as well as maybe some of the connection of the apps, and maybe be able to spend a little bit more time in some of those because it's a 3-hour session. But yeah. Okay then. I hope that was helpful. I hope you see some things that you didn't know about. Just by the way, on any of those apps that you can add, like the virtual bots, the power apps, it's things that you can just add yourself. They're free, part of the Microsoft 365 environment. Lists, Stream, YouTube. You can just add them to your own team, add them to your own profile, and just play around with them and see what it does. And it may come of use to work within your organization as well as those extra little features.
Yeah, because as I say, we're going to be following this up with an email as well with more details on the training and then a link to YouTube as well. So if there's any possibly past webinars you've missed, they might be on there for you to take a look at as well.